Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever in the world you may be. Welcome to another discussion, and I'm very pleased to have as a guest one of my favorite coaches, favorite speakers, Larry Stein. Um, we are we're going to change the formatting. I'm going to ask Larry some questions first of all, and then we can just have a very organic, happy discussion and see how this goes. So just to tell you a bit about Larry. Larry Stein struggled with stuttering for 50 years, comprising his career and suffering terrible depressions. In an effort to save the business of his dream, he launched a drive to improve his speech that far exceeded his expectations. Over the next 2 years, he relearned to speak, retrained his brain, and worked through speaking situations that once paralyzed him. Today, he runs his dream business, is a public speaker, and mentors people who stutter all over the world at no charge. He is the author of Free to Speak, My Journey from Stuttering to Public Speaking, which is endorsed by 15 leaders in the stuttering and mental health community. Larry, welcome.
Thank you, Elsa.
Yeah,
nice to see you.
It's very nice to see you. You know, you're an excellent speaker. You know, you're very forthcoming, dynamic, etc. What was your stuttering like all those years ago?
Well, it varied. So my first, I'd say before I was really involved in the business world where I was forced to speak, for the first like 30 years of my life, I would say I was a severe stutterer. If you asked me my name, it would take about 15 to 20 seconds for me to say it, and my jaw would be sore, head shaking, lips pursed. I was, people always say, "Oh, you're like the King's Speech." No, I would have been thrilled to speak like the King. It was like a car crash. If you want me to demonstrate, somewhat of what I looked like, I'd be happy to do that. If you want. But just to give you an idea, when I was working as an accountant, which is a job I took because I thought I wouldn't have to talk, that's how bad my speech was. At one point, everyone had to give like a little 10-minute talk on some topic. And I mean, these are just my colleagues, my friends. That 10-minute speech took 28 minutes. So now you get some sense as to how severe my stuttering was.
And what was the point where, I mean, was it a transition, or then you thought that you have to do something, or was it a point in which you were humiliated or whatever? You thought, no, I'm going to make a decision. I want to change.
I was humiliated all my life. What brought me to this, I had tried to change my speech my whole life and failed over and over. As a kid, I went to speech therapy at Northwestern University, which was at that time known as the best in the country. Nothing helped me there. Then I went to the University of Chicago, from Chicago. That may have helped a little bit. There I learned phrasing. They had me in a delayed auditory feedback machine in a booth with my mom on the other side. And I would read to her from the play, was it Our Town, maybe? Something like that. And I actually got pretty good speaking within the delayed auditory feedback room, but I couldn't take it outside. What changed was and I'll just shortcut this story. I had always wanted to be in the investment business since the age of 11. I was obsessed with investing. That was my dad's hobby. I really wanted to do that. And when it came time for college, I just couldn't talk well enough. And I just ended up going into fields that I wouldn't have to speak. So I became an accountant, a CPA, a master's in tax. I worked at two of the largest CPA firms in the country. I hated college. I hated work. I hated myself. It was just, I went into severe depressions. I didn't know what I could possibly do with my speech so bad. And then I went from there. I became a financial writer in my 30s. And so I worked for a large corporation and I wrote. And that was really good because I could hide, but I was sometimes called upon to do some talking. And then I was offered a job as a consultant at at that time, somewhat prestigious consulting firm in investor relations, where I'd be primarily a writer. And just to give you some sense as to how it went, fortunately, the interview was all writing, and then just a few minutes of just talking. And the chairman calls me up at 9:40 at night and offers me the job, 50% more than my current salary. And if I did well, I would, earn so much more in the future. And of course, I said what? What did I say? I said no. I said no to this guy who was a very well-known guy in Chicago. He was in the newspapers a lot. I said no, and he couldn't believe it. He said, why? I said, well, and I was just trying to come up with words that I could say because I could not say the word stuttering. I could not say my own name, by the way, until I was 57. So at this point, I was 37, and I said, well, I just can't talk well. He said, I know. And it may be more difficult in the beginning because you'll be talking with CEOs and CFOs. And, here I mean, I couldn't even ask a question to my best friend, much less to a CEO. And he said, but most of the clients get to know you and they'll like your writing. And so he said, just sleep on it and call me in the morning. I said, oh my God, I'm gonna have to call this guy. And so I went to sleep, not planning to take it, of course, because I'd have to talk. And I got up the next morning and no one else was going to hire me. It was the perfect thing. I could hide behind writing, and so I took the job. And as it turned out, he was right. In the beginning, it was really tough, but I adapted to speaking more and talking on the phone more and meeting with people more. And my speech improved quite a bit. So that by the time I was 47, oh, by the way, in that job, my income, after the 50% raise, my income tripled in like 5 years, just to give you an idea. And I was going to turn that down because I didn't think I could talk well. It just goes to show you everything from me in my whole history was saying no, because it would put me into speaking situations or social situations. I always said no to everything. And this one time I finally said yes. Well, I said yes another time. And that time was when I was 47, and this good friend of mine said, oh, my cousin was a little tiny insurance company, might begin an investment arm. You should talk with him. So I talked with him. We hit it off. He kind of did all the talking, and I was fine with that. He hired me. I took a 60% pay cut. I mean, I took and here I have, kids in private universities. No, not at that point, but it was close. And anyway, so by age 54, I opened up my own investment firm. I thought I was able to talk well enough. I still couldn't call people on the phone I didn't know, but email was just getting popular. And so I could make appointments on email. I took a few clients from my previous jobs. And after 1 year, I was going, wow, this is the greatest year of my life. I'm doing what I really want to do, but I was hardly making any money. And at that point, one son was at an Ivy League school, and another one was going to enter in even more expensive school, and it was getting a little scary. So I'm 55 years old. Now, before that, like I said, I had said yes to something, and that was a cousin of mine worked at a very small nonprofit, and they needed people on the board of directors who were not old people. And so they asked me, I said, sure, I'll sit on a board, good for my resume. Maybe I can get a couple clients out of that, which I did. And, but then at age 54, right when I opened up my own firm, they asked me to be the president. Now, the only reason was the only other person who would do it was 85 years old. It was very difficult. And so I, of course, said, no, I'm not doing that, because I'd have to lead board meetings of 15 to 25 people. I'd have to give a 5-minute speech maybe every few months, with 100 people at it, maybe 150. And so I said no. And they kept on asking me, because the only other person who would do it was 85 years old, literally 85. Not kidding about that. And so I finally gave in after about 3 or 4 times. I finally said yes. That was the second time that I've ever said. And through doing that, after a year or so, I realized that in these pressure situations, I somehow fell into speaking in phrases. I was speaking in phrases. I found that helped. Maybe just a little bit. I said, why don't I just public speak all the time? So I began public speaking all the time. And I said, I'm just going to speak phrase to phrase to phrase. I mean, this is like after a board meeting, I'm walking out the door and it just hits me. Why don't I just public speak all the time? So I did. And that helped a little bit. For the first time in my life, here I'm 55 years old, still can't say my name, still can't call people on the phone, still can't handle any difficult situations. But there was a glimmer of hope that, wow, maybe I fell into something. And that kind of lit a fire in me. I began watching broadcasters on TV, and I began mimicking Matt Lauer, who was then the anchor of the Today Show. And I still talk like Matt Lauer. Hand motions, I do all that. And I began to mimic him. And then one thing led to another. I'm just going to shorten it all for you. So I basically mimicked really good public speakers, many of whom were on TV. He was one of them, but there were others. And I mimicked them, and I just broke it down into something I call breathe, emphasize, phrase. It's nothing I created. It's just, I'm just mimicking public speakers. And so just catching fire with that. And then after that, I went into the psychological issues that I had, which were so many after 50 years of stuttering. I was avoiding, I was doing all kinds of crazy things. And then I literally went one speaking situation after a time, very small steps, not heroic whatsoever, very small, working through speaking situations. And at the top of my hierarchy was to say my name. So the whole process was about 2 years. Saying my name was like a 3 or 4 month project, literally. But after that, I wasn't speaking like this yet, but that was a really big event for me because I really didn't have to hide. I could handle any situation. And I'm in some high pressure situations, being, having my own investment firm, asking for $1 million and handling client issues that come up. That's the short answer. It was all about money and trying to, not be put on the street because no one was going to hire me. How do I know that? I tried. no one would hire me, and I had to make this work. And I somehow speaking in phrases helped, and then I went way beyond that. And therapists now tell me, "Oh, you did a mixture of cognitive behavioral therapy. That was my thing of handling psychological issues. I would basically do the opposite of my first inclination. So rather than avoid, for example, I would walk to, and then exposure therapy in just taking things in very small steps. I didn't know I was doing those things. I was just desperately trying things, and those things seemed to work. And so basically, I relearned to speak. I did a lot of work on myself psychologically, and it was a very slow road of just working through one speaking situation after another.
Yeah.
And that's how I got to this.
The fact you took small steps, I think that is really good, because if you take two big steps and improve very fast, then the house of cards can collapse just as fast. So you
Right.
actually built a foundation first and got comfortable with yourself.
Exactly, yes. And I actually built the foundation in many ways, relearning to speak, working through psychological issues, and then because I did it so slowly and in such small steps, you would think they were insignificant, but there are no insignificant steps as long as they're toward your goal. And so, if you ask me, oh, why do you stutter? Why do I stutter? Tell me about stuttering. I have no idea. I don't think anyone understands stuttering. I read lots of stuff. I don't understand it. I don't care about it. What I care about is helping people improve their speech. And so I now help people all over the world, really on 4 continents. I haven't helped anyone in Antarctica. I was just talking to someone today. And wow, that's a good picture, Sean Azimi.
Yeah,
And
sure.
so if you ask me, to explain stuttering, I have no idea.
All
I have
right.
no idea. All that I basically did was I took a massive problem stuttering that I don't understand. I don't think anyone else understands it. And I brought it down to one phrase at a time. And then I worked through the psychological issues very, very slowly.
Okay. Larry, I have 2 more questions for you. Then I'll open up to Peter and Ian if they want to ask you a question. Then we'll move on to our next speaker, panelist is Sean. First of all, Sean, nice to see you. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Nice to meet you, Sean.
Hey, Larry. How are you?
Hello, Sean.
Good.
Peter, Ian, how are you guys?
Oh,
I
very
was
well.
on another Zoom. I'm sorry I was late.
That's absolutely fine. So just to follow on from that point, Larry, my next question is, in the early days, when you were pushing yourself and improving and whatever, how did you deal with setbacks, or how did you deal with any, if you have a bad incident, I'm not going to say relapse, but how did you deal with those stumbles and bumps on the road?
So do you mean when I was young, or do you mean when I was
Yeah.
working through my speech in my mid-50s?
When you're working,
Or even now? Because,
yeah.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. In your mid-50s, when you're working on your speech and you think you're getting better, you're excited, you're happy, you're thinking of the future, all of a sudden you hit a brick wall. That must have happened to you.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So, but I should note, I have not had any relapse. I've not had any relapse. So, and I think the reason is because I had that foundation. I had that foundation of relearning to speak. I had that and making it automatic. So people tell me, what kind of tricks, tips, and techniques do you have? I say, I have none. Zero. No techniques, nothing. Now, of course, learning to speak like a professional speaker, in a sense, that's a technique. But then I practice it so much in so many different situations, low pressure on up to high pressure, that I don't think about it anymore. So while everyone else is thinking about their speech and their techniques, oh, what do I do now? What do I do now? I don't. I am focused on you. I'm looking at all the different screens here, and I'm looking at what is registering with you and what is not. I am looking at how can I convey it. I am not thinking of this at all. If you're thinking of this, when the pressure is on, and I'm in a lot of high pressure situations, I give speeches, you know. I have clients, they may have problems that are very difficult. I'm in pressure situations a lot. And if you're thinking about this, then you can't focus on what is really important, which is the client, which is the people. And you can't enjoy yourself. And when pressure comes up, techniques go out the window.
Yeah.
Out the window. You can't pull anything up. So I had to make this automatic. I had to practice it so much, it's automatic. There are no techniques. What else you got?
Yeah, and this is my final question. Then I'm going to open up to the others to ask you whatever they may have. Could you tell us what breath emphasized phrase is?
So just simply put, it's just how good speakers speak. It's nothing I created. I just simplified it so I could remember BEP while I was learning stuff. It's just how good speakers speak. They take a breath before they speak. They speak on the exhale. They speak with they emphasize a word toward the end of a phrase so that you'll be compelled to listen to it. They're expressive, and they end the phrase. They go to the next phrase. If you watch a really good speaker, that's what they do. And that's what I do. I don't think about it. Now, obviously, I had to think about it before. But if you have to think, you're dead. If someone can show me someone who has all these techniques they do, and then they pull them out when you're having trouble, if you can do that, you're smarter than me.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. You know, for a long time I had so much trouble going to a coffee shop and asking for a latte. I had so much trouble. I remember walking to a coffee shop and asking, couldn't say latte, and eventually I would kind of blurt it out, I don't know how, and the coffee shop worker felt sorry for me and told me it's on the house. But it was humiliating. It was humiliating.
Right.
And but then, you know, I kind of resolved to say latte, and yeah, no questions. Does anyone have a question to Larry?
Yeah, maybe I have a question. Larry,
Peter.
hi, Larry. Thank you so much. I think that was so interesting and a real learning experience for me. Do you think that maybe that your immense improvement and your success would that be the result of an increase in confidence?
Absolutely. That is part of it. I mean, so let's just think about what I did. So you're absolutely correct, Peter. What I did was I kind of went back to zero. I relearned to speak. I threw out how I talk, and I relearned to speak just like a good public speaker does. No big deal. That's the easy part. I made it automatic. That was a little harder, but that's the easy part. Then I worked through the psychological stuff. But then, how did I build confidence? When you go one small step at a time, and you have successes one after another, that's how you build confidence. Now, I used to play sports. If you met me, you'd say, wow, he's a pretty big guy. I played sports, so I've had that experience. I know what, having success is from a physical standpoint. It's all the same. If you can score one success after the other and stack them in rapid succession, confidence is going to build. True confidence, not the kind that you get from, let's say, thinking positively or affirmations or that kind of thing. I'm saying real confidence by doing something and having positive results one after the other. You are going to build confidence in whatever you do. And that's basically what I did, Peter. And I think that's why I haven't had relapses, because it's built on actual experiences over and over and over again.
Thank
That
you very
answer it?
much.
Okay,
Yes.
that's really good. We will have more questions later, but it's absolutely fascinating. With these sessions, I feel that we don't even scratch the surface. There's so much depth. But I'm going to move on to Sean, if Sean does okay with Sean. So just to tell you a bit about him. So Sean is originally from Iran and has been in the US since 1987. He stuttered since he was 6 years old and between the ages of 13 to 24. He couldn't even speak one word when his stuttering was at its worst. Since then, he has had 38 different jobs in 10 different industries, and 19 of those years being on the phone selling home loans. Sean now helps folks create a side income leveraging social media. Sean, if it's okay with yourself, could you just talk about how you see stuttering and how you see any treatments for stuttering? Is that not unless you have something prepared? If you can maybe
I don't have anything prepared. I'm ready to go with whatever you got for me.
Okay. All right. Okay, it's all yours, Sean.
So my whole and thank you for that introduction, and thank you for having me on here. My whole thought about stuttering is actually before the group, I probably knew maybe 3 or 2 people who stuttered in my whole life. I actually didn't know there were so many people who stuttered. And as a result of one of my Facebook lives, here we are. I mean, it just went nuts. So when I got introduced to the group, I saw, wow, I'm not alone. There's not just 3 of us. There's like a bunch of us that we stutter. And the one thing that I noticed, and it bugs me to this day, is when somebody says, I am a stutterer. One of the things that I fight against all the time with people is that when you got to be super careful what you come up with after I am. Because that is going to change your life. If you are somebody, you have a very difficult time to going back and changing it. If you identify with something, then you've thrown in the towel. You could be asking for techniques. You could be asking for miracles. You could sit on your couch, kumbaya, my Lord, all day you want, but you've thrown in the towel. Hey, listen, for 11 years, I couldn't speak one word. I never said I am a stutterer. I said I stutter a lot. Like freaking all the time. And I'm sick of it. Now, I know that's a tough stage to get to, but you have to get to that. And where you have to see where that also shows up in life. It's not just in stuttering. You're not just saying I am a stutterer. You're saying I am a lot of other things. So you have to check to see where the patterns are coming from. And then when you say, okay, you know what? I'm not a stutterer, but I stutter like so much, like 24 hours in a day, I stutter 25. I go an extra hour in the day beyond what God gave me, and I even stutter even more there. But I'm not a stutterer because I am going to change my speech. Look, there's people on here that have changed their speech. I mean, I'm going to show you a picture. Hold on. So I was about 16-ish, 17. And in high school, I was 16, 17. And back then, in America, I was in America, obviously been in America. Back then it was a hostage time. And I was one of the 3 Persian kids in the whole white plus Vietnamese school. Okay. And I used to get beat up every day after school because I was Persian with a bunch of white guys, right? Why I tell you that is because at around 16, 17, I don't know if you can see this picture. Can you?
Yes.
Okay. So this is probably at the worst. And this is, check the date. Can you see the date? Wait, hold on. May 5th, 1989. So there was a science and engineering fair, and I decided to participate. And my project was on causes and the effects of stuttering. And there was nobody around to talk to. I didn't know anybody. Like I had no idea. For the first time in my life, somebody told me in school, my high school teacher, my English teacher told me, hey, I think you stutter. And I didn't know what that meant. I just thought, what is wrong with my speech, right? So I decided to go through this, and I actually won 3rd place in that science and engineering fair on my project. Now, why I tell you that is because you got to be careful with what you come up with next, right after I am. You could say, I am a work in progress. I'm always striving to speak better than I did yesterday. Now, one of the things that like I said, I really want to change the mindset because, look, Larry said it the best. There are no techniques. I still stutter. 0, zilch. Steve Harvey had this girl come up and, just those things don't exist. This is a everyday. You got to roll up your sleeve every day and say, hey, all right, let's go. It ain't going to be like a snap. It's all in your head first. Then you can progress. Other than that, if you're thrown in the towel already, you could be searching in dark for things. Just not going to find anything. The first thing is, listen, you got to not identify with a problem as a problem, because once you throw yourself in the problem, that's it. You're part of the problem. Be part of the solution. Change your mindset. All this stuff will come. Listen, I'm not going to say here that, at 50, at 60, you're going to have a perfect speech. You might not. Reality check. You may not. But I can almost guarantee you'd be improving if you work on it. That's all you can ask for, really. I don't know if that answers your question, but that was a
that was really good. So after the ages of 24, when you were stuttering, etc., what treatment did you undertake? What methods did you use to improve your own speech?
So I had a lot of anger issues as well. So I went through some therapy, and not really speech therapy, but more like psychotherapy and speech therapy. And I mean, honestly, there was no techniques that we did. I didn't put any marbles in my mouth and, do riddles. I just dealt with it one day at a time. I felt like I just gotta fight it and just, okay. You want me to tell you the secret? I haven't shared this for a long time. All right, I'm gonna tell you why. When I was 16, when my teacher told me you stutter, she asked me to see a psychologist, school counselor. I once saw this school counselor, and mind you, I'm only here 2 years from Iran, so I don't speak a whole lot of English at that time. Like, they're talking to me, and I'm like, so I get like maybe like 1/3, So she put down, and this is the turning point for me. She put this article in front of me. It was in a magazine called Letting Go. See, I still said it. Letting Go. And there was a 43-year-old guy who wrote 4 pages about how his life sucked. His 41 years, he said, I hate life. I've never been able to find love. Everybody makes fun of my stuttering. I can't find a job. My parents' family makes fun of me. Like, just 4 pages. I remember I was 16, and I read this thing, the whole thing, and I understood what I understood. And I told her, I said, I'm not going to be that 41-year-old, 43-year-old. I'm not. And that changed everything. I said, I don't want to look back and say, oh my God, everything sucks. She sucks. The job sucks. Work sucks. Jiminy Christmas. That's a horrible life. I don't want that. I tell you what, I mean, I've had even girls say that it's very sexy you stutter. I'm like, you're crazy, because I've like worked all my life not to, So you'd be surprised. You hang around the right tribe, they'll love you, no matter what.
Yeah, what you just said there really really felt in the heart. And the whole thing that stuttering is bad, it's a perception, isn't it? It's just a perception that it means I'm stupid. So there is a distinction between stuttering over words which people do. It doesn't make them stutterers. And on the other scale, there's the struggle behaviors and the forcing, which means that you're unhappy with the way you are, or you're struggling not to stutter. And does that make sense? So
What's going on with my light? Are you seeing that? I don't know what's happening. I swear that's not the case here.
It's okay. It's okay. Does anyone have any questions for Sean?
Yes, I might have a question. Thank you very much, Sean. Maybe I should to explain my question. I would like to say how I personally also made a great improvements. One a reason for my improvement was that I learned to express my anger.
Mm.
Would you say that that you went through a similar process of expressing your anger and somehow translating that anger into assertiveness? Because that has been what has helped me. That I finally identified that I have lots of highly repressed anger, and that it had to come out. And when it came out, I channeled that anger into what is called assertiveness, which is one way of managing anger. Do you think that is perhaps what you have been doing?
Absolutely. You know, you can be angry at a lot of things, but you also can be angry at the fact that you stutter and you don't realize that. That's a big anger to deal with. That's something that we kind of brush under the rug and we don't really want to talk about. But my anger is one of the big things you have to deal with. You gotta clean that out. It's just not good for all around on top of stuttering, right? It just makes you very dark.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Peter. Any more questions for Sean from anyone? Otherwise, I'll have or even a comment on what Sean said, just for the sake of discussion development. We can maybe develop something from there. Okay. Larry.
Yeah, so good to meet you, Sean. Finally, I've seen your posts all the time and all that. I totally agree with this notion that people say, you know, I love my stuttering, I embrace my stuttering. I wouldn't think of not stuttering. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. If you feel that way, that's great. That's up to you. But what I found, like you, if you have that mentality, you are resigned to that. You are not. If you want to do something about your stuttering, that's not the mentality to have. Let's put it that way. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I call it the victim mentality.
Absolutely.
If you feel you're a victim, you are going to act like a victim. You are going to be a victim. For me, I felt that I was cursed my whole life. And I realized when I was beginning to make some improvement in my speech, I had to address that victim mentality because I felt like a victim. I felt like I was the most unlucky person in the world. And,
Very true.
And so what you said, I think, is very right.
Thank you.
If I can just add to what Larry said, I think what both Larry and Sean have in common is that the concept of self-image psychology, whatever image you have yourself in here, that's what projects. So it's actually impossible to have an image in the head which doesn't correlate to the outside. Is that correct? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we can, but however, for balance, if someone knows that they stutter, with into to varying extents, and there's there can be obvious neurological issues. Then if they try to think of themselves as a fluent person, and when they know deep down that their system just isn't built to speak well, and then when they try and speak and doesn't work, they feel bad. But on the other hand, if they are resigned, I'm being devil's advocate here, Larry. If they're resigned to the fact that they have this stutter, it's a neurological stutter, and if they go out and say they order a cup of coffee or meet someone and they talk stuck with a stutter, then there's no cognitive dissonance, and there's a there's a balanced way of thinking. They don't disappoint themselves. Is that not perhaps better for mental health?
I'll give you an idea.
Yeah.
I'll give you an idea. So, and I like what you say, I like what you say, because there are some cases, very rare cases, that maybe it's a much deeper problem, right? Deeper issue. So here's what I gotta share with you. We know of cases where people have cured themselves of cancer. We know of cases where people have been bedridden on a broken spine for 6 weeks, and without surgery, they've healed themselves. We know cases of people that have healed their heart issues with their mind. Don't give me that stuff that, oh, my stuttering is now, central problem, and I can't fix it. Oh. I don't buy that violent stuff. For me, you got to have a much tougher skin than that. Listen to me. God made you not as a crap hole. He didn't say, oh, you know what, I'm going to make this. Oh, yeah, this one I'm just going to come up with just, You were complete at creation, which means you have everything you were supposed to be equipped with at creation. You have the ability to do stuff that, I don't know, the next guy next to you doesn't. So yeah, you can go ahead and say, well, I got this nerve problem. Okay. And are you going to sit there for the rest of your life and say, I have a nerve problem? You can have a nerve problem. I'm not saying deny your problem, but don't rely on your problem. Dump all your excuses, walk around with your excuse with a neon sign and flowers and tell everybody, hey, by the way, I got a nerve problem. That's not going to help anybody, right? So we know of cases of people have healed themselves. Look, there's people here who speak. I couldn't speak, I can say between those ages, I can tell you, I thought I had nerve problems. I thought I was adopted. Nobody in my family stutters. I was like, what the heck is going on? Right? So you can rely on all these little excuses, or listen to me, somebody's excuse is that other person's exact reason why they went for it. Somebody said, I have a nerve problem, sat there all his years at 43 years old, wrote 4 pages of how crappy life is. And somebody like Larry Stein does what he does.
I don't want to be too judgmental, but I think some improvement is possible. I think fluency is a trap. I think if you're focused on fluency, you're going to avoid, you're going to switch words, you may not speak in difficult situations. So I think for me, it was very important to not make fluency, for the first time in my life, by the way, not make fluency the metrics that I find that I think most people that I've worked with, they can make some improvement.
Yeah.
I had no conception that I could get like this, that I can give speeches, that I don't think about talking, that this is just how I am now from what I was, which was very severe. But I think people can get more comfortable speaking, and it's different for everyone. And I'm very sensitive to that. But I think it's worth giving it a try. But you know, how you do that has to make sense. And a lot of things I hear to me don't make sense. What I did obviously to me made sense, and it's helped people, you know, around the world. By the way, if you want to read my book, it's called Free to Speak.
Oh yeah.
It is
Amazon?
it's on Amazon. I held nothing back. It's endorsed by 50 leaders in the stuttering and mental health community. And
I actually love that point that you brought up. You know, it's kind of easy to be in a stuttering position and say, well, perfection is right there, like fluency is right there, and I'm going to go for that. And that's like, I mean, that's discouraging. I mean, I'm putting myself in that situation right now, and I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to get there? Like, I feel like it's Mars, you know? But what I did is I couldn't say my name. I was like, dude, people are asking me my name, and I'm like, and oh, you don't know your own name. So I practiced one thing that was important to me at a time, right? I'm not fluent. I think if you strive for perfection, you're gonna be disappointed. You ain't gonna get it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to celebrate your small wins and kind of work towards your small wins, you know, just one word at a time. Before you know it, you got a sentence.
Yeah, I actually couldn't say my name until I was 57.
Yeah. What? Now that's the story right there. I love that. Wow.
I couldn't say my name. It would take me like 15 to 20 seconds to say my name.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, but I went in very small steps, like I said, and at the very top of my thing was, could I introduce myself? Could I say my name confidently? And that was like just the name part was 3 to 4 months. But my whole journey, after I improved quite a bit, was about 2 years. And it was in very small steps. And there is no magic here. I mean, it was a lot of hard work. But the strange thing is that once you make a little progress and you begin to move up and take on more challenging things, you begin to change. I found that I mean, I was a person who was not resilient. I became very resilient. I became resourceful. I became disciplined.
Right.
I completely changed as a person. I am not the same person I was before and so what I'm saying is that stuttering is a call to action. You can look at it as a woe is me thing, which is what I did for decades, or you can say, you know what, this is a call to action. This is a way in which I can improve myself in some way. Maybe I won't get to this point, but maybe I could get to some point. Maybe I can improve to some extent, and I can learn and become a different person over time. And that's what I did. It was an amazing process. It was really the adventure of my life.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
so my thing is that, you know, fluency isn't the end all be all, but being the person you want to be, that's an important thing.
I would definitely agree that chasing fluency was not the best idea. If you think fluency good, stuttering bad, anytime you do stutter or feel a stutter coming, then you feel bad. So it's not really productive. Do either of you still work on speech on a daily basis, or do you just go about your daily lives and I know we just talk, or do you actually do anything for your speech? Any training or practicing or?
I'll let you go first, Larry.
No, I really don't. I mean, um, I sometimes find myself for a moment regressing to old behaviors, or like if I'm traveling, which I do a lot. If I'm traveling in a foreign country, they're speaking a different language. I'm in a busy market. I'm trying to get into work. I can find myself falling back to old habits. Maybe if I'm in a group of a lot of people and they're talking really fast, I find for a moment I can regress. But no, for the most part, this is me, how I talk. I'm in a lot of high pressure situations. If you want to know pressure, ask someone for $1 million and see how that goes. So, then ask them for another million. Learn about their troubles and counseling them through their life troubles. These are high pressure situations that I'm in quite a bit. Right now I'm in negotiations to sell my business. So see more high pressure situations like that.
Are you in consulting? What type of?
No, I have my own investment firm.
Got it.
And so, anyways, so do I work on my speech? No. Am I aware of it? Usually not. Once in a while, I will become that. But just like you suggested, Hassan, what I built was such a foundation of between relearning to speak, working through the psychological issues, but of course there's no end to that. And then one small step at a time over, years in many situations, it really, once in a while, I will think about it. Like if I'm calling someone I've never talked with, it's a serious situation. Yeah, I'll question it, for a moment. I remember during COVID, I wasn't with anyone. All of a sudden, COVID cleared up for a brief time. I was hired to give three-hour speeches in Minneapolis. I took a plane, flew out
Nice.
there to give these speeches. I work with no notes, 3 hours, and there's a memory technique that I use. And I hadn't given a talk in over a year. I hadn't talked to anyone but my wife in a year live because it was COVID. And I began to question, can I do this? And all of a sudden I was getting really nervous. And so I walked through the door, and everyone in the crowd, by the way, is a CEO. They're all heads of companies. And so all of a sudden I'm really nervous. I'm going, what is going on here? And again, the techniques go out the window. Trying to relax yourself in a situation like that is impossible. But what I do is I put my energy into speaking with a lot of expression in those cases. I shorten my phrases, so I speak with a lot of expression. So I have to breathe. All that breathing goes into, all that oxygen goes into my brain. I gradually relax, and I was fine. So if there's a technique that I might use, if there's a moment that I might question myself, that's what I do. I just overly do what I normally do without thinking about it. But for that moment, I had to think about it because frankly, I had a moment of doubt. I hadn't talked to anyone in a year.
Yeah. That's a long time, 3 hours.
Well, yeah.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
What I
It's
would
fun to
share
do.
with, yeah,
It's fun to do.
yeah. What I would share with you is that we get plenty of opportunities in a day to practice our speech. Like you don't have to like be in a technical course. You got people around you that say hi to you and how are you and how's your day. That's practice. That's literally practice. Where else do you want to go? Like a boot camp and practice your name? This is the practice, right? The people you see, that's where we shy away. We shy away from the little things that are going to build that skill, right? That put that skin on us, right? When somebody says, hi, how are you? What's your name? That's practice time. That's your time, right? So those are the times we got to really take our opportunities and chances and really just speak out. But like we've talked about it before in this Zoom, there's really like no technical school that, hey, welcome to Stuttering Technical School. Let's put the gear on and practice these words. There's just nothing like that, because every person is so different. They deal with it differently. They got backgrounds that are, come into play. So there's a lot of factors involved, but every day we get chances to practice our speech just by our name. What I did when I got into the mortgage industry, I'll give you this and I'll drop it. When I got into mortgage, I avoided mortgage and phone sales for the longest time. Because I just knew, I just thought I'm not going to do really well on the phone. I was a retail guy. So in stores, in front of people, that kind of a thing. And as life has it, usually does, long story, I ended up in the mortgage industry. And I remember the first 3 months, and there's people that worked in the office with me still, and they talk about it. And we had 1,500 employees, sales employees, just sales. Maybe Larry knows the company. I worked for Lending Tree. Lending Tree?
I think I've heard about it.
Yeah. So
I think I've heard of it.
yeah. So when the phone would ring, okay, true story. The phone would ring, I would have to pick up the phone and say, "Thank you for calling phone center. This is Sean Azimi," right? And I would still stutter on center, and this is Sean, right? Phone would ring, and I would literally sweat. And I would have to take the call, because if you had a missed call, then it was like you have to deal with corporate stuff and all that stuff. So I would literally get it on the last ring and pick it up, nervous, all that stuff. I was made fun of for the first 10 months. I was made fun of in that company because I was not doing really well. And then I became the number 3 producer in that company. Number 11th month. And I held my position until I left, out of 1,500 agents. I taught trainings. I installed corporate trainings. I helped teams develop. 10 months, everyone made jokes about me. Everyone. But you just can't go for like fluency, perfection. You just got to go one day at a time, one step better, one word better, one transaction better, one deal better, that one person that asks your name, do better. Just that one person. And that's your practice every day. And I did it in front of the mirror for hours. Hi. This is Sean in the Home Loan Center. How can I help you? In front of a mirror, like literally. So sometimes if you don't have anybody to practice with, there's a good friend, mirror.
Sean, just to touch on what you said there, there's a conception that you need to set aside time to practice, for example, in the morning or whatever, in the room by yourself, just practicing and practicing. And you think the more you practice, the more you will translate this into the real world. But whenever you add a new element, another person, another environment, noise, 2 people, You know, you stutter with 2 people, but not 1. You stutter with 4 people. You stutter with certain ages. So I think you're right. The best place to practice is in the real world. And for that, my view is that you cannot be afraid to fail. Because if you think, no, I'm going to be, I'm going to go under the radar and I'm going to fool that person that I'm fluent, then you're setting yourself for failure anyway. So that's my take on that. I think we passed the hour mark now. Does anyone have questions for Larry or Sean? Any final questions for Larry or Sean? That's okay. Larry and Sean, thank you so much. But I would love to have you back. I'm saying to Larry earlier.
That's a good sign.
Yeah. And
Can I just
Sure,
do a quick plug for my book? It's called
yeah,
Free
of
to
course.
Speak: My Journey from Stuttering to Public Speaking. And you'll hear the whole story.
Get that from you so that you can sign it for me. Is that possible? Would you be able to autograph it and mail me? If I do it through,
Mail me money ahead of time, sure.
yeah, I can do like Venmo or something.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And if anyone ever wants to talk to me about their personal stuttering,
Yeah.
I meet with people at no charge. I meet with people all over the world, and I'd be happy to just talk with you. I have no program. There's nothing set. Just help people where they are, and everyone's at a different, moment in their journey. I was saying road. No, it's not a road. It's a moment. And so if I can help anyone, let me know. It's always a pleasure. And
Larry, how can people contact you?
Everything with me is Stein on Stuttering. Stein, Stein on Stuttering. So until 10 years ago, I couldn't say Stein and I couldn't say Stuttering. So I think it's
that's awesome.
Very good.
So you say Larry at Stein on Stuttering. You can see my Instagram, Stein on Stuttering. YouTube, Stein on Stuttering, I think 3008, something like that. You contact me any million different ways. And
okay.
I'm happy to help anyone.
Okay. Sean, how can people contact you?
I make it very easy. You can just go. I am Side Gig Sean. So everywhere you can go on Facebook, X, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and what did I miss? LinkedIn. Yes. Side Gig Sean.
Okay. Very useful. Thank you very much to our speakers. And that was a very interesting, enlightening, and enriching, and very motivating. I found that very motivational. So thank you very much. I was going to say one other thing, now I've forgotten, but it's okay. And I hope that everyone enjoys the rest of their day, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.